Never lose your identity. My big brother Crump told me, little bro, never lose your identity. But hit different when the world started testing me. When love turned to doubt and people start questioning your energy. When your heart pure, but they paint you with their fears. When you gave your life. Never lose your identity. My big brother Crump said, know who you are, 'cause if you don't, the world will tell you who to be. Never lose your identity. Welcome to the huddle. Each one reach one. Each one teach one. If you are that one, then you got to know that I'm talking about you are enough to get it right. When everything going wrong, you might not be the only one, but you're one of the ones, and we all we got. We all we need. Tonight's show is going to be a powerful show. I'm going to let it flow. I'm going to get in the wind. It's soul ties real. Got this question asked amongst men. Is soul ties real? The power of perspective. Alexa, tell me something good.
We all we got. We all we need.
It's been a while. Thank you. Been a while since we kicked it like that. Felt good. Alexa, what is the meaning of soul?
As a noun, soul is usually defined as the principle of life, feeling, thought, and action in humans, regarded as a distinct entity separate from the body, and commonly held to be separable in existence from the body, the spiritual part of humans as distinct from the physical part. As an adjective, soul is usually defined as of, characteristic of, or for Black Americans or their culture. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for soul.
Soul is the invisible essence that one can't really see.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Thank you. Yeah, we talking real intelligence now. Soul is the invisible essence that someone can feel, but they can't really see it. Culture is how soul becomes visible and tangible. See, once upon a time in America, in our position as black folk, we were known for our soul. Our music was known as soul music. Our food was known as soul food. Everything about us was warm and soulful. The black church became powerful because when you went inside, it was something very particular to a particular type of people that a vibration and a feel will make your soul activate. Soul. Shout out to Sean Lee. Lately, man, the rig been up. I realized, man, that for a long time, the soul of the essence of black folk in America has been on the decline of being deactivated. A lot of AI music coming out now. It sound good, but it ain't got no real soul in it because ain't no experience emotion. Ain't none of that in it. Ain't no soul in it. The essence of living, of life, is soulless. Kind of like we visualize zombies. They say the windows are the eyes to the soul. When someone who's out their mind, there's nothing in their eyes. They are a zombie. They are one trained mind to do or destroy. They're soulless. Talking real life, I ain't talking movies. The question is soul ties real? Motown was a record label that produced the most music known for black people in a soulful essence almost 65 years ago. Those songs still resonate in our soul today when we hear them. It makes us feel a particular thing. We say we don't make music like that no more. Every sound was a real living human stroking an instrument, blowing an instrument. See, that's why when we talk about emotions, it's the energy in motion that comes out in an expression. When your soul, the seat, the one that sits in the essence of you, that makes you move in a direction, it comes out in your culture. You're cultivated through your soul. I'm a black man, so I got a particular soul from a particular culture that makes me activate to express myself. In the sincerity of expressing myself, I want you to feel me more than you hear me. Soul man. See how it works? But his soul ties real. And in most cases, this question pertains to sex. But we'll start there. Is soul ties real? Gonna talk some statistics. Do your own research if that may make you feel good. Sex is a reproductive act. Sex is a nature. When a young boy goes through puberty, from between 11 and 12 or 13, something activates in his body to activate his nature, to know that he has a reproductive system, and there's emotions, there's hormones, there's all of these things that work up in him to let him know it has a purpose. Call it a wet dream. A young girl, she goes through puberty and begin her cycle. Within her cycle, there's ovulation, where the nature in the body and the mind tells her it's time to reproduce. She's not taught her nature. If she's not cultivated from the seat of her soul to understand her value, and her expressions reflect her culture. Same as the little boy. Is soul ties real? Where do babies come from? Somehow, some way, this became a trick question. You come from inside of a mother. How did they get there? They came by the seed of a man. Her essence, his essence, tied together to create a new life. His soul ties real. Is you real? Your two souls tied together. Create a new one. See how that works? It's soul ties. Now, the essence of that which is at the seat of your existence, who cultivates that? What type of culture are you a part of? The questions is more powerful than the answers. But I came from a culture. My mother, my father, my grandparents on both sides, I came from a culture of a soulful type of culture. Our soul was caring. Our soul was loving. Examine your soul. Keisha Johns, what's up? You already know what time it is. You add value. Welcome to the huddle, sister. Talking about the soul tonight. The soul is the essence of you that's invisible. We got one. Everything living got one. But being black in America is a particular culture. Within a culture, there's a survival. You got to understand your position. You got two types of survival aspects of life. You got herbivores and you got carnivores. Carnivores eat meat to survive. There's a food chain. You got to know where you're at in the food chain. If you're a carnivore, if you're a meat eater, that comes with a certain type of mentality. Hunting, seeking, killing, destroying. A herbivore eats fruits and nuts. You don't eat meat. Its survival is dependent on peace. Its survival is dependent on the lining of nature being in order to always have abundance of. It's in an environment where there's food all around it. All they got to do is bend down and eat. It don't have to hunt. It don't have to look. It don't have to cook. It's naturally there. They have an easy soul. Once upon a time, black people had a soul, and our essence came out in our culture, in our music, in our food, in our family, in our church. Who was a soul man and a soul woman? Do we have a soul? Are we tied to one another with our soul? Or have we become carnivores? So you got to understand your position. We still argue today to say, is racism real? Is our position any better than it was? If we're going to ask those questions, then we got to be real enough about our position with the answers. See, a gorilla don't eat meat. A gorilla don't eat meat. A gorilla don't kill. But a gorilla is one of the strongest mammals on planet Earth. It's a herbivore. So you got to know what you are and you got to know your position. I want to talk about soul, man. I've been looking for it all week long in my journey. It started off with the music. I said that's why our music dead. That's why songs only last 3 to 4 years. The rig is up. It's been AI a long time ago. Man, I done sat in the studio with some of the best in this world, and I done came from my soul. I ain't got to use no pen. The beat drop, I go crazy. That motherfucker stop, it start back, and I go crazy again. I done stood in a parking lot with Anthony Hamilton say, man, they say Charlene is one of the greatest goddamn songs in Charlotte. Sing, let's sing. Let's show these people what the soul really feel like. I want to sing. I'm talking about real intelligence. From the soul. But they killed that realness in us. They took it to the studio and they pushed the button and they put a polish on it and they took the soul out of it. Even the sound, even the beat, even the thing that you would normally feel that make you move your feet. They took us out of it. Ain't nobody playing no instrument. They've been doing this for a long time, but it's affecting every aspect of our mind and our culture. You look at the music awards, every genre performs with a live band, live instrumentation, a representation of their culture. Every sound represents a man or a woman with real emotions that will make you feel what they're saying and what they're playing, and they display it. But when it comes to our music, we go off tracks and we up there with no instrumentations and no nothing live. It's all dead. It's all generated artificially. And we wonder why it don't last long, because we don't make soul music no more. Children knew how to play because they went to church and they had to participate. If they wasn't athletic, I grew up, they carried a trombone, a flute, a clarinet, the drums. They wanted to be a part of something. Their soul had to have an expression. But the essence, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I've been on a mighty journey looking for the soul in every situation. If it ain't got no soul, what it got? I want to give you an illustration. Close your eyes. If you're old enough to have watched Scooby-Doo, then I want you to visualize something that I've seen and express to show you how it works. Every time Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and the crew would go into somewhere haunted trying to find the mystery, who's in the mask of the phantom, who's under and responsible for the deception. That was always the plot in a Scooby-Doo episode. But in the process of finding out who was behind the deception, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy would always be the one that the phantom would try to scare the most. And they would always illustrate it when they walk up behind Scooby and Shaggy. They would scare them, and their soul would jump and separate from their body for a moment to show you where one would take off, the body would run, and the soul would have to catch up with the body to get back one and go. See, this happens in real life. This happens in real life. We go through experiences, sometimes often it's trauma, where the body and the soul get body rocked and shocked. And they separate for a moment. And sometimes in life, the soul never catch back up with the body. My friend come out and say, Trav, when the beat drop? I say it depends on what song you're talking about and what genre in or what key they in. See, sometimes, man, it was children. We all children that has gotten old. We went through trauma and the body separated from the soul. And you say, she ain't been the same, man. Something changed. I look in the eyes. That ain't who I grew up with. That ain't who I went to school with. It ain't real no more back there. It's something artificial now. Some got their soul tied. While the body under control of something else. Now you understand what it means when I sold my soul. It no longer sits in the avatar behind my eyes. Who controls? This happens on every level. So I want you to understand that when we talk about soul ties and how it works, the soul get deep, man. How long has we been dead without a soul? How long have we been letting our culture be controlled and our essence are no longer vibrating in what we do and what we produce? I went to a meeting, powerful people at the table that has control. Of the interpretation of many people's soul. I ain't saying that to rhyme. I'm speaking my mind. I'm letting it flow. But the conversation came up about housing. And me and Big Brother set the tone. That's why I came in. My big brother Crump say, never lose your identity. You got to know who you are, because if you don't, the world will tell you who to be. When I introduce myself, I say, I am Trav P. Nice to meet you. But we was talking about education, transportation, housing, health. All the government issued departments that control the people, help the people. We was talking about the resources. So one of the biggest topics was transportation. And a lot of times in these meetings, I don't feel a soul connection or anything to tie to. But that's all good. I'm finna put a stake in the ground. See, a lot of times when we talk about transportation in these situations, we look at it like we're looking down in a hole. Talking about them, not our soul. But when I put a little soul in it, because I'm a soul man, I won't push everybody in the hole so we can see it on an eye level. So I said, well, let's talk about transportation. What is important for everybody to be? Where does everybody got to go, regardless of what your status is? Whether you got a Bentley or you catch the bus, where must everybody go? And I kind of put a mirror up in the room. Say, ain't nobody above the bullshit. So if you can empathize with it on a personal level, and you realize we all connected, got everybody at least tied their soul to the pole. Got them feeling something. Now the truth finna come out. So somebody came up with a story. I know I'm going here, but I got to get there. They said, yeah, speaking of housing and transportation, man, I just want to tell this story because it really touched me. Now they want to pour out their soul. So there was an 81-year-old lady that went to the doctor and she lost her housing that day. She was distraught. She was 81 years old. I don't know what her situation was, but she lost her housing. So she went to the doctor's appointment, and after her doctor's appointment, they told her, they said, listen, we'll call you your ride. And she said, I don't have a ride. I'm not leaving. I have nowhere else to go. So the doctor's office was about to close, and they say, ma'am, I'm sorry, but you got to get away out of here. If not, we got to set you outside. And she says, I'm not getting up because I have nowhere to go. So they threatened her. They said, well, we're going to have to call the police and we're going to have to get them to take you out of here, but they're probably going to arrest you for trespassing. So the 81-year-old lady with nowhere to go said, I'll accept that, call the police, and I hope they arrest me because if they take me to jail, I'll have shelter and I know they'll feed me at least twice a day. I have nowhere to go and no means of feeding myself. So being arrested is my best option. 81 years old. Police came, they arrested her. This is a true story. Word got out. They looked at some of the organizations and references she had in her records. So they made some calls, and through the resources of government, nonprofit agencies, someone from a mental health department came and bailed her out and took her through a mental health resources to provide her housing. And it hit me in the soul. So the only way she got help was to play crazy. But I think she was brilliant, and I think, man, in her 81-year-old mind, of all she understood, I think that was the most logical, intelligent type of thing to do. She said, "Take me to jail. At least I know I have shelter and food." But the only way to validate that conscious decision was to make her crazy to get resources. And I wanted them to understand something. I said, we can meet in this room as herbivores, as plant eaters. And we can talk about strength, and we can talk about help. We can talk about homelessness. We can talk about affordable housing. But one thing you got to understand, this is a capitalist society. So no matter how much we love berries and fruits and leaves, the veins of America run off blood and meat. And you got to tie your soul to this for real. If you for real about it. That's where the saying, wolf in sheep clothes. A wolf survival is cultivated by a different kind of soul. I'm a black man, a soul man. You're going to feel what we put out. That's always been our power. It's always been how we tied to one another. But we don't even understand what that means no more. We ain't no different than artificial intelligence. We are the artificial intelligence. They have used us, take our soul out of our body, out of our mind. They got us thinking like carnivores and meat eaters when we don't understand what it means to be a black man and a black woman in this here land called America. We got a soul inside of us. And we can tie to one another. It's soul ties real. You got to know who you know and know who know you. Arrested development. I tell this all the time. I hope you understand it. If you ain't, I'm going to say it again. We all children that has gotten old when the beat dropped. Some of our beat dropped when we was 9 years old. That beat could have been a powerful song that created joy, that created love, that created momentum, that created confidence. It was that moment in which you realized, just as much as if she was 9 and he was 9, and it was that moment where they got scarred for life and they was de-energized to lock themselves in a room and never open the door for nobody till somebody come along, a friend, a co-worker. Ain't no telling who it might be. Many are called, but few are chosen. Few are chosen to be on a frequency and tie their soul to your soul. This is a real superpower. and they ask you, how did you get here? I've never shared this with anybody. I ain't never told nobody what was wrong with me. Ever since it went wrong, I slammed the door. How did you get in here? I ain't saying nothing deep. I ain't never told nobody. How did you get in here? You can stay in there or you can pull them out. But those people will stick for life. You're tied to them. They understand your heart, your feelings. A baby can't talk to you. A baby can't tell you what's wrong. When a newborn baby come into this here world, the mama and the daddy soul are tied up in the most manifesting way of God and life and love for you to ever understand it in its purest form. I don't care if you can use your imagination to go back 5 billion years ago. It's real now as it ever been. When you are born again and come out of there, you're looking at a soul tie. And if you paying attention, from the time that baby come into this here world and take in the breath, that baby will talk to you and tell you everything it needs to survive until it can speak. Still tied to my baby's soul. They ain't got to say a word. So I said all this to say about soul ties. If your mind only understands that through sex, then we'll understand it like that. 70% of women ain't never bust a big one, and a high percentage of men ain't never made a woman bust a big one. So a lot of people can't understand soul ties because they ain't never understood beyond the physical that tie two souls together. And they done made children together. And don't give a fuck about raising them together because they ain't never tied their souls together. So they'll most likely say soul ties ain't real. Because their soul ain't tied to nothing. What your soul tied to? What your soul tied to? We go through rituals in life. We go through ceremonies. Like I say, man, the soul is the invisible essence of a people. Culture is what makes those essence become visible and tangible. We go through rituals and ceremonies. Marriage is a ceremony that's compiled of different rituals. Within the ceremony, there's a ritual where the preacher asks who gives this bride in the order of righteousness of the ritual and discipline. The father comes forth. I give my daughter. If you go look through the culture of this, or shall I say the subculture, we don't really understand the culture. We got a subculture. Being black is a subculture in America. America is the big culture. Black is a subculture. White got their own subculture. They do things different in a way that we do them. Their ways feel different than our ways. It ain't about right or wrong. It's just about a subculture. The culture at GMC is a culture, but there are subcultures within GMC to make different type of products with their own culture. like a Tahoe versus a Yukon versus a Suburban. See what I'm saying? Subcultures. But we go through these type of things. Who gives this bride? Did you really demand anything when a man came to you and asked you, could he have your daughter? Have her for what? See, you got to determine that value. Put my soul in my baby to be fertile soil for a legacy of worthy seeds. That's farming. Put my soul in there. Put my soul in my son to understand that he got a harvest, but he got to have fertile soil and to know how to identify and be real enough to obtain it in the ways and order of righteousness, that he may go to a man, shake his hand, look him in his eyes, so that a man feel what's in his soul and say, may I have your daughter to cherish and hold for all her days. In every way you intended her to be safe and secure. We don't understand how deep this shit is, because it requires your soul to understand it. We say marriage ain't shit no more. Don't nobody care about marriage no more, because we don't understand the essence of it. And I ain't talking about from the religious aspect. I'm talking about from the soul part. You know what it means to watch yourself be born again? Fuck what you believe. I'm talking about what's real. You ever witnessed that? If you witness that, that ain't about believing. That's about understanding that God gave you an assignment. It's a crazy law in the universe that takes control of the mind when you witness the truth. If a man never seen it, he can't understand it. But once you witness the truth, man, it's an alchemy that happens in the mind. A lot of men wasn't there to witness it. That's why he ain't tied to it. Shit ain't deep. It's what the soul is. It's the same thing in our music. Same thing in our food. Same thing in our family. Same thing everywhere. Is it alive? Is it a living? So you gotta know, you gotta know what type, you gotta know what kind. Are you a herbivore or a carnivore? Are you a meat eater or are you a plant eater? See, black people is a particular type of kind in America. One of my homeboys say, Trav, what do black people want? I say, it ain't deep. He say, what? I say, we want to be white people. We want to be like white people. That's the difference between wanting to be strong. That's the difference between wanting to be secure. See, the lion's strong. He ain't what I am. He a different kind of animal. He don't eat what I eat. See, I got a culture. My culture defines my strength. We don't know what that is no more. I'm just here to remind you. I'm just here to remind you, man. I'm just here to remind you. But I was talking about that ritual, and I was talking to Mr. Al. He's 72 years old. Real life story. We're talking about the soul the whole time. I said, yeah, Mr. Al, we was talking about this, man, about the soul and how we go through rituals. And, when we ask, can I have your daughter? I say, Mr. Al, do you remember asking your wife, daddy, for her hand in marriage? He said, yeah. My first wife, man, I remember. He said, she didn't really know her daddy like that. I said, yeah. He said, her daddy had been to prison and he had went to jail for murder and shooting. He was a wild man. He didn't play no games. See, so I went to him and I said, yeah, I want to marry your daughter. He said, man, I never forget this. He said, it's funny you're saying this. I said, yeah. He said, he looked me in my eyes and he said, look, I'm going to give you my blessing and marry my daughter. But I want to tell you this now, if it don't work out, you bring her back like you're getting her. Don't you put your hands on my daughter. If it don't work, bring her back. But don't you put your hands on my daughter. And he said, man, I knew he was telling the truth. He already had them been to prison for murder. He said, I know that. And he started out with my first wife. So I know he had to take her back. But he said, you know what though, man? We didn't work out, but I never put my hands on her. I said, yeah. And he said, but the real reason I ain't never put my hands on her, and I'm just telling the truth, man. It's real life shit. Connecting this with the soul to help you understand how it works. He said, but the real reason I didn't put my hands on her wasn't because her daddy threatened me. It was because, I watched my daddy jump on my mama a couple of times. And he in his 70s. He said, yeah. He said, yeah, I didn't like that, man. He said, I had an older brother, I was kind of young, and I used to always think about it like when I get big enough, I'm going to jump on him. He said, my daddy used to get drunk and come home and, he'd cut a fool a little bit, but, man, it's crazy. He said, my older brother, he's 5 years older than me. He's kind of older than me. He said, one day my daddy came home, and my daddy was acting crazy and drunk, and, man, he hauled off on my daddy and wore his ass out. I say, what? Said he couldn't take it no more, Said I couldn't believe it, but I can't say I wouldn't have did it. I just knew I was too little, but he did. He said, man, and let me tell you something, man. He was 15. And my daddy, he said, we were staying in Georgia, and my daddy bought him a bus ticket and sent him to Charlotte. And he never came back home ever again. My daddy said if he saw him again, he was going to kill him. He said daddy died. He didn't even come home to the funeral. So that was it. They had that fight, and he never saw my daddy again. They never made up. He said, man, that was heavy, he died with that burden. I said, yeah. I said, damn. He said, but this is why I'm telling you this. He said, man, this crazy. When I got old enough to talk to my brother, I found out he beat his wife. And I couldn't figure out how you do that and you've been through all that. All this started from a conversation of, do you give your daughter? Who gives your daughter? The same experience caused him to have something in his soul that he would never hit a woman. His older brother experienced this, fought his daddy, was exiled from home, and here he is with the same experience just like his daddy. He said, man, I couldn't understand that. He said, but then I think about it, man. My daddy was drunk and he was crazy, but, man, my daddy liked me. He never got mad at me, never treated me wrong. He treated me like somebody. And that hit my soul. I still don't know all of what he taught me. But I know that I'm talking to a man who was born in 1954. His brother in his 80s. His daddy would have been in his, he said, damn near 100 by now. So I'm looking back to say, man, things always been what it is. You just got to know who he is. Because if you don't, the world will tell you who to be. And we don't forget who he is. The black man ain't no soul man no more. The black woman ain't soulful no more. I'm for real. And that ain't no downing, that ain't no what. I'm for real. The question is more powerful than the answer. We scared to be vulnerable. We scared to be emotional to each other. Most conversations that happen between people who real enough to be real with each other comes from another asking another, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Today I was at Chicken King on Rosa Ferry Road. A brother asked me, he said, hey man, what's that on your logo? What's that symbol? I said, it's the Ankh. He said, what's that? I said, think about it kind of like a recycling symbol, but for the soul. I said, he who turns the key live forever. Reproduction. My children are made in the image and likeness of me and my wife. We created them in our image and likeness. We raised them in our ways, in our culture, to cultivate their soul, to know what kind they are. My son will meet soil. My daughter will meet seed. They will turn the key. Have another cycle of me. My wife, her parents, my grandparents, her grandparents. There's a culture in that. There's a fiber in that. So I'm explaining that to him while I'm in there. It's a white dude. He said, yeah, that comes from the Egyptian culture. I said, yeah, you got that right. I see a lot of the God concepts, those are the origins. Got me a black dude and a white dude. I'm kicking it. The white dude know a little bit, but I ain't exclude him. Black dude say, man, I appreciate that, brother. You got a number or a card? He left out. White dude wanted to pound me up. I appreciate that, brother. That felt good, man. Just to have that conversation, man, out in the open like that, man, with three guys. He on the west side, on Rosa Ferry, white guy, having a conversation. He was kind of hesitant. But the soul can't keep no secret that behavior won't reveal. See, if in your soul, man, is real, if you got one, your behavior will reflect that. when your survival is dependent upon destruction and blood and meat, your behavior reflects that. I'm gonna get out of here on this last story. It's near and dear to me. The day I went and paid the piper when it saw Caesar. Went and paid my mortgage and paid some of my responsibilities. And, you know, I don't take anything for granted. Every time, talking to a young man, he said, Mr. Trav, what's your biggest flex? I said, my biggest flex is I ain't never paid rent. I jumped off the porch owning my shit. I became a homeowner at 21. I've been a homeowner for 26 years. I own more than one. I say that with respect, gratitude, every time I make a mortgage payment. It ain't no different if you're making rent, no matter who you are as an adult. Every time you have to go pay Caesar, whether it comes easy, whether it comes hard, whether you stress or whether you bless. I realize and I understand every time that I can stand as a man and be responsible and know that my children are secure, even if it ain't nothing but a cycle. When you're running the 400 on the first lap, you got to run 3 more. I signed a contract for 30 years of it. But every lap, I'm thankful. And I told my wife, I said, you know, this crazy. I said, you know, I do my thing well. I'm thankful all the time. Not just that I could pay my mortgage, but it's about the source. It's about still having the mind, the health, the means, the strength, the know-it-all to get out here and do what's necessary to stand as a man. I say, but regardless of what that is, how or I make that about my relationship with faith, God, divinity, whatever you want to do, however you want to color it, I say I realize one thing. Caesar made a deal with God to say, you can work that out with every man and woman. I just know they better have my goddamn money. And I say, boy, that's heavy. That's heavy. That make you question herbivore, carnivore. See, he go them words again and them spells and them rituals that we don't understand. Caesar is the government. Caesar is taxes. Caesar is whatever you got to pay to be necessary if you are an adult that's living with food, water, shelter, the 4 elements of survival: earth, wind, water, and fire. Wind, it means that the conditions or shelter from the conditions. No matter what land it is, somebody is accountable, somebody is lawful, and somebody paying taxes unless you playing the game within the church. But if you're an adult, whether you pay it or not, you better have thanks and gratitude to somebody because they got to go deal with Caesar. I'm talking about the government. So I got to thinking, like I say, man, Caesar a bad man. And y'all might think I'm talking crazy, but Caesar showed you how strong he was in the deals he made with God. COVID was an example of that. Caesar told God, cut the goddamn games, shut all that shit down. I don't care what they think. I don't care what they believe. Put a pause to the cause. I'm putting it all down with my power. You better not open no church. And tell them I don't care what they pray for. Leave it up to me. I'll pay their bills or find a way for them not to get put out. Just hold on. We saw that in COVID. So it hit me today. Mm. Mm. I remember when I got in real estate, somebody said, Trav, why you won't rent your house? Why you won't rent houses? Instead of selling your house, why you won't rent your house? I said, because that would make me a landlord. I don't want to be Caesar to no man. I deal with Caesar. I don't want to become Caesar. Caesar eat meat. I eat fruit. Mm. What you tied your soul to? I love you, man. Keisha Johns, I appreciate every comment you made. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate anybody pay me some attention. Before I go drop a comment, get some love, man. I feel your soul when you pay me some attention, because we know that your attention is the most powerful thing that you can pay right now in the moment or on the replay. I go back and listen on the replay. Sometimes I don't know what I say. I just be in the moment. I let my soul go and let my soul flow. The soul can't keep no secret that behavior won't reveal. Some people say, man, why you get on there and holler like you do? Because that's what my soul say, and I just want to be true. I'm passionate about this shit. I've been saying this shit for 20 years, every which and every kind of way. I talk it every day, all day. No matter who I'm talking to, no matter what room I'm in, I'm talking this shit from my soul. I'm a black man. I'm a soul man. I ain't gonna never stop. I'm gonna keep trying to make it a way so that people that love me enough to pay me some attention can pick it up, understand how to use it as a tool, because we can't lose when we choose to be real on the inside and let it come out. Shout out to my big brother Crump. Thank you, brother. More than you'll ever know, man. I know I say it a lot and you say I ain't got to say it at all. Thank you, man. On behalf of anybody that depend on me for anything, that can't see, won't see, or don't see my position in the cipher of we all we got, we all we need. So, Crook, thank you, brother. Man, that's what's real, brother. They say, man, I wear my soul on my sleeve. Who said that's weak? Who said that's wrong? Anybody that tell you that it make you feel wrong, they soul already gone. Soul brother number one, soul sister number one. Let's bring it back. Everything you is, everything you do. I love y'all.